Hi, and welcome to another edition of Billy and Sam review races and badger other people to do them with us. Today we have a guest host, Megan, who is Billy's daughter and did the race with us, so she's going to help us review it. So why don't we have a rating system of 7 bananas. So we're going to go over each of the components and give our review. So we're looking for out of a total 7 banana option. Let's see what you like, what you didn't, and what we can improve. So we could start with check-in. Tell me what you liked about that, what you didn't.
It was very nice that all the COVID stuff was gone. And I wouldn't say every single COVID thing was gone, but most of the major stuff. No temperature check-in, no mask. It felt more like a regular race. Not 100% like a regular race, but more like a regular race. So certainly liked that. I'm trying to think of what I didn't like about check-in. The Sunbelt, in the Ironman Village, the Sunbelt Bakery booth was not open.
No, it's open on race day, but...
Yeah, but race day I'm racing, man. If I want to get some goodies from Sunbelt Bakery, I need to get those the day before.
For the race.
So, it's kind of nitpicky, but that's, would be nice if it was open the day before race day.
So Megan, you got any thoughts, comments on check-in?
I agree. 6 out of 7 bananas because the Sunbelt Bakery.
Okay. The Ironman has this process down. It's fast. It's efficient. They do a great job. We're back to, this is the second time we've had the dynamic check-in. And so Megan and I had adjoining numbers. Billy was parking the car. So be careful. The parking's difficult. But great. There's actually plenty of parking. We were just idiots. The dynamic check-in is, again, super cool. I'm a huge fan of that. I hope they keep it. The only thing you lose with that is your name on the bib number. But it's really, for the people who want to be up front and need to be, specific numbers, they can show up early. There were still, you had to pick your time. COVID stuff it'll be months and years working itself back out. And some of it will stay forever. So, some people are still wearing masks. They still passed out masks because they had them all printed up for this thing. As far as checking for me, I think it's a 7 bananas. I understand the Sunbelt complaint, but I don't know that that's Ironman's fault. So I'm not going to give them the deduction for that. There's just nothing I could see to improve that process.
So let's talk about the swag. Megan, can you grab the bag and the not the hat because that's at the finish line, but So we got. I guess I should. Sorry, I should have opened this before, but so last week we got a dry bag. So this is going to be the year of the dry bag. So I'm assuming every Ironman race is going to have a dry bag. Last week we just got a plain black one with nothing on it but Ironman. This one, it's gray and black, which is fine, but it has the race on it, and so that was a nice addition this time to have the race. It doesn't have the year, but that's fine. Having the separate race, that was nice. You also got a water bottle in your bag, and it is not a nice water bottle. It is a cheap water bottle, perfect for race day, because if you want a water bottle that you can chunk at one of the aid stations as you go along, this is the water bottle that you can use, stick it in your rack, then you can throw it away and not feel bad about it. So that was kind of cool. That way you don't have to worry about if you're traveling or whatever, you don't have to bring your own water bottle if you need one, or it's an extra one in case you forget. So that was nice. Ironman sets the standard as far as swag, so appreciate that.
Yeah, man. The average person's not doing multiple races in a row, so Ironman has always had the same bag at all of their races, from my experience. So I'm going to expect more dry bags. We are going to be able to keep our items safely dry for years to come. Everything we've ever gotten is very nice from them. So the dry bags are nice and thick, nice quality construction. Ironman does just tops with that.
All right, so let's move on to the swim and just talk about the swim itself.
Yeah, this is a new swim.
Yeah, it is a new swim, and we really appreciate the swim. I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and start. It was 1.4 mile swim, which is more than the 1.2, but you eliminated the upriver section. And for us, what normally happens, or what we've seen happen at Chattanooga, had several years. Is they let the pros go off first. And if the river is fast and the pros can't get around so it's upriver. So previously it was the first leg was upriver. And they'd let the pros go off first, and they'd swim upriver around the buoy and then go back down. If the pros did not get around that buoy in a particular amount of time, everybody went downriver, which is great because, I mean, you got people doing 18, 19, 20-minute swims because the river's fast. But for us in particular, it would not have counted for a world record. You have to be able to do the entire 1.2 to be able to do a world record. So the fact that they changed it to 1.4 and it's all downriver really benefited us. So I really appreciate that. The swim was not as fast as I thought that it would be. I was kind of disappointed in my time. So, I mean, that was just a function of the river itself. It hadn't rained in a while, and maybe there wasn't just as much water flowing. I've seen it a lot faster. It had the same standard 6 yellow buoys, and then you started with 6 orange buoys. So the out buoys were yellow, the in buoys were orange. There was a red buoy at the end, and I have always been of the opinion, or I've been told, I guess, I don't know where I got this information, but I mean, at least in Augusta, maybe you always had to go around the red buoy, to the right of the red buoy, and then hang a left and go back in. That was not the case at this race. I went around.
They were wanting you to go to the left.
Is that what they were wanting? Because I went around the right, and this is the red buoy at the very end before you got to the stairs. But most people were going left.
Yeah.
So I guess know that, and nobody was getting in trouble. There was nobody pushing them out the other way. You have to be there. There's steps at the end, and there's no low step. The first step is maybe 6 inches into the water, which is pretty much chest high. So you're either going to push up or get your knee on it or something to get to that first step.
Handrail.
Yeah, and you had people, the volunteers were down there that would grab your hand and help pull you up, and so that was nice. But I was not expecting the no step. In Augusta, you walk up a boat ramp, and in most other races, if it's an ocean, you'll walk up the sand or whatever. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that. So that was kind of a surprise. So be prepared for that.
Your thoughts, Megan?
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that by the time I got to the end of the swim, there were several boats, like the inflatable boats, that were on the left side of the buoy where you could not go. Or no, they were on the right side of the buoy where you could not fit around the right side. So when I was there, left.
I must have messed it up for them. They saw me going around the right, and they were like, "Oh no, bro, you need to go to the left." They did push you. Maybe that's the one thing that I would change. One of the bridge, maybe the very last bridge that you went over, they typically you can swim on either side of the buoys, the yellow and orange buoys. But when you got to the very last bridge, they made you go to the left of the support structure of the bridge, which kind of crowded everybody up because there was plenty of room to swim.
Yeah.
I didn't feel. Yeah, I wasn't getting. I got close to some people, but I'm not sure I ever even touched anybody else until towards the end, where they were kind of pushing you more towards the left. And it wasn't. I mean, there was still a good bit before the race was finished, so I don't know why they were pushing you on that side, but they were.
I have some notes. So it's the first year with this particular, they changed the swim setup. So they were going to have to field test this. The entry into the water for the old swim, I did it 2 years ago, and you had to literally hold on to the handrail. You could only go single file down to the actual dock because it was just so steep of where the river was. So this is infinitely better, and Ironman's doing a great job. Please continue. But coming in, so of course we walked in, not bust in, and that was a function of COVID. But they get everybody in this parking lot, and they had done a good job. Hey, you leave you leave the corral at your swim time. Hey, 20. I think it was 25 and under, 25, 29. You know, your particular self-seated. And so everybody walks down there in the line, self-seating, and then we get to this parking lot, and it's just chaos. You know, everybody, because they all get up there well before the swim start, and so then you're just mixing. There's nobody with signs. Those guys the volunteers just left. So I don't know what the issue there was, but there was not really good communication on. I'm supposed to be here, so. Once again, it's the river, and there's just so much room that is not a big problem of getting swam over. This is a great race for that reason. But yeah, more signage, getting that fixed. The start line for the swim was on the platform or the rail going down. So my swim started, and then I was still in line for another 3 or 4 minutes.
It wasn't that long. It wasn't that long, but it was. That was a disappointing.
So that was frustrating. That our time is skewed, and so it's 3 or 4 minutes, and I get it. Everybody has the same penalty, so it doesn't hurt anybody, except for I guess the people that started first would not have had the problem of people in front of them. So you gave an immediate advantage to the people who went, very first. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be close. But I expect that next year, if you do not move that you will have more people crowding the front because they're going to want that 3 minutes could be a difference, or whatever it is. But
we were in line with the guy. And we were curious if this was just like a check-in kind of thing or if it was the actual start. And he was like, "Oh, my watch just said I just started to swim."
Yeah, that was how we found out that it actually worked.
And so what happened was we had Sydney was on a bridge to take pictures of us, and she got the notification that we had started too, and she was like, "Oh, I guess I missed them," and so she left. So if you're just know that if you're trying to take pictures of people jumping into the water, it's a little bit from the time that it says that they start to the time that they actually jump in the water. So that was kind of disappointing.
The water, the water wasn't fast. It did not feel fast to me today. I could have been slow, so let's not blame my problems on the water. But it's a function of the river. You just never know what you're going to get. So that's not Ironman's fault. Just know you never know what you're going to get. This felt like a slower one, but once again, if you're afraid of swims, you don't like swims, this is a great one. They did have the platforms in the river. That's the first time I've seen that. I'm used to seeing it in Ironman Florida. They'd have like a stationary platform in the middle of the swim course, just in case you needed help or you needed to take a break. There were several people that raised their hands, and I watched the boat go straight over. So the volunteers did an excellent job. Saying comments on getting out of the water. It's the way that they've done it, so it's the way I expect them to keep doing it. And then you got to transition. So yeah, it's what's your banana score on this one?
On the swim, I'm not a swimmer. It's hard not to swim in a straight line on this. Swimming straight down the river. So for me, it's a really good swim. I wasn't particularly happy with my time, but that isn't Ironman's fault. There's nothing they do to change it. That's just the weather. I will say that last week you beat me by 7 minutes or 7.5 minutes or something like that on the swim, and today it was 2.5. So that's how much difference it makes on the swim as far as if you're a good swimmer or not a good swimmer. For the swim, it's a river swim, freshwater. The water was clean. The safety was there. I gotta get to 6.5. I mean, I'm sure I don't know that there's a better swim for me.
Okay. Megan, you go.
I agree. I think 6.5, just because the start line, I don't know what they could have done differently with that, because at least we didn't have to walk down a really steep boat ramp or anything, and it was like a dock, but it was frustrating that it was several minutes before we actually got in the water. So 6.5.
Fair enough. I'm going to be the tough one and give it a solid 4 bananas. I think that it can get to a 7. I really think it's a great swim. I think they'll get this stuff worked out. So next year I'd expect some big improvements. But yeah, I'm going to take it down to a 4 just for the stuff I mentioned. All right, so let's go over the bike.
All right, on the bike. Am I doing this first, I guess?
Oh, sorry. We can do Megan. Megan, you want to tell me about the bike?
No.
Okay.
All right, I'll do the bike first. So there's some things that you need to know about the bike. First of all, you need to know that your bottle cages need to be tight. The first 6.5 miles of the bike is rough. 2 railroad crossings, and there were a bunch of bottles and gels and
it was like
tubes,
graveyard.
CO2 canisters, whatever. It was a bunch of stuff. So much that I thought that a volunteer should be there picking it up, because you kind of had to weave through it.
There was one guy, I'm not sure he was a volunteer, but he was
picking up stuff.
Yeah.
It might have just been shopping. Go look on eBay for your bottle later.
Yeah, he was just trying to throw them out of the road.
Okay.
But at mile 6.5, and I looked at my watch to make sure, we got new pavement. So thank you, state of Georgia, for paving this road. It was 13 miles exactly. It was from mile 6.5 to mile 19.5, brand new pavement. And I when we got to the end of it, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't have more. But there were a fair number of flat tires. So I mean, we do 90. We do 90 pounds on our tires, and I mean, if you're doing 130 on this course, you're gonna blow a tire. So make sure that 90 was fine.
Was right. Ironman was warning people the day before to please leave your tires a little not deflated, because 90 is still hard as a rock, but don't push the envelope. So.
You went out. It was a 1-loop course. If you can imagine, it's a balloon. You go out the string, you go around the circle, and you come back the string. It's a standard course I think they've been doing for a long time. It's a very similar course to the full Ironman that they do here. They add a little bit to the balloon part for the full Ironman. But you cross 2 railroad tracks on the way out. You cross the same 2 railroad tracks on the way in. They did the second railroad track, they put a mat over the railroad tracks, and the problem with that, I like the mat. It was a thick rubber hard mat, but they use orange tape everywhere on the course to tell you there's a hole. And this mat was covered in orange tape. So basically, nobody wanted to ride over the mat because they felt like that this was a non-okay way to go, because there's all this orange tape. But that was actually the best way to go if you wanted to cross the second set of railroad tracks. I'd add a mat to that first set of railroad tracks.
Yes, and I'd also say to put down, widen the mat too. The going out was fine, coming back was a little, not even congested, but there was a small group, like maybe me and 3 other people who were close-ish to each other, and it was hard to slow down and go single file across.
Two people cannot cross the mat for sure. Side by side, you're not crossing it. It's a single file mat for sure.
So what I hear you saying is, if you're in a Peloton
and
you're drafting off everybody,
you might not get a penalty from the motorcycle.
You have to slow down.
You do at the end of the bike. So right after the very last aid station, you hang a right and you're back on the new pavement, and you're on that for I think 6 miles. That was at like 40. I tried to track it. I'm trying to remember. I think it was at mile 40 5 3/4, and that lasted until maybe mile 51ish. So five, maybe a little more than 5 miles. So that was nice. You got to ride on that same. You didn't get the extra 13 miles, but you did get an extra 5 miles on that. The aid stations we're doing flying handoffs. They did that last week. Plenty of stuff. Plenty of volunteers. I never saw them run out of anything. I didn't stop, but they were super friendly. So that part was good. Coming in, you did where you mounted your bike. You did not dismount there. You actually went past that and dismounted in a different location, but that was actually fine too because they had already pulled up all the tape and everything. There was no confusion. So good for them for taking that out. And you came in on the same road. You just went a little bit further down the road to get off your bike, and then you hopped in transition. So for me, I mean, it was a good bike. The temperature was pretty cool for the bike, so that was nice. The roads, I mean, there were rough parts in the roads, but those smooth sections, and it was. I'm gonna tell you, up until mile 45, so that last aid station, I had 2 cars pass.
Yeah.
So it was not a closed race course, but it felt closed because there was nobody on the road until mile 45. Now, after mile 45, there were a bunch of people, and they were courteous. I never had any issues with anybody. Police were good. All the intersections were good. And I mean, 11 miles at the end where you have traffic. I mean, you can't. You can't.
No, man. The police were incredible this time. It was a minimum of 3 officers at every lighted intersection. It wasn't. Ironman always does a great job with this. This is top notch as far as the police go, and making sure there's no interruptions. They still, of course, there's lines of cars, and they're letting them go on the cross streets when they can. But the cops were doing a great job. Volunteers were at every intersection. Super fantastic. Kudos to Ironman on that. They're spared no expense on that, or I guess the city spared no expense on that. The city did a great job.
Any comments from you on the bike?
Any comments on the bike?
No, widen the map. Ironman can't pave the roads.
They cannot pave the roads, but they can request. I mean, that's when I'm giving my rating, I'll go ahead and give my rating. I'll give a 6, and they can make it a 7. All they got to do is get the city of Chattanooga to fix that first 6.5 mile section. I'm not expecting every road to be perfect, but there's a bunch of potholes, and you feel like you're doing the slalom on that first 6.5 miles and those 2 railroad crossings. I mean, there's got to be something better than what's there. Mind you, a 6 is a very good score. It's a very good bike course. You'd be happy with it if you come do this. Just be aware that you're going to lose some stuff if you don't have it strapped down.
Megan, you got a banana score?
A 6.
6. I'm gonna go. This is my favorite bike course of any of the Ironman I've done. It's a lot of rollers. You got some false flats and some other challenging stuff. This is not a PR bike course, but it's a lot of fun to do. It is technical without being too hard. You've got some. There's no hard. There's that one turn where you go up the hill. But it's a phenomenal course. I wouldn't change a thing on the course. Pavement would help. So I'll take off a half for the pavement. But if you've raced in Texas or Louisiana or South Africa,
by far not the worst roads.
It is. These roads we're complaining, but they're not even close. When you have that Georgia brand new section, it just highlights the other issues. But yeah, this is absolutely my favorite bike course of any 70.3 I've done. It's really exciting and really fun, and you get to pass people and be passed, and so I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
No,
so
let's move on to the run.
Megan, you want to talk about the run? Billy, you want to talk about the run?
Yeah, I'll talk about the run. It was hot. It was hot. We were in Florida last week and it was 80. We come 400 and something miles north and it's 90. And so we had kind of prepared for that, and we hopped in the water as early as we felt like we could, so that we could get out here. But by noon, it was hot. Now, the one thing that I will give them credit for was there was shade. There was not shade the entire course, but I mean, I don't know how they could put more shade on it. And so even though it was 80 last week, I don't think I mean, certainly I wasn't covered in salt like I was last week, because you were just baking. There was so man, it's a good run course. It is not flat. It is not hilly. I would say that it's a moderate run course. And so I did appreciate the shade. That was nice. It was, like I said, I mean, probably less than half of it was shaded, but there was enough shade to where you felt like, okay, this is good shade.
Yeah, so you've got some sections where you're running on, I mean, it's a highway. It kind of feels like an interstate, but closed to cars. Cars are going, it's a divided 4-lane, and they're going the other way. So you've got no car issues. So you don't have any shade on that, but minimal shade, because there are pieces of that are nice and shady. But you come back on their river walk, and that thing is phenomenal. It's just shady and comfortable and fantastic. I love this run course too. This is great. You've got some hills and from Florida, and so I don't like those. But they're in the shaded areas. They're interesting, and then it's very, very well supported. Was it every mile and a half that we had an aid station? It might be every mile, right at it. So the aid stations were just fantastic. And there's a couple of sections that you hit the aid station on one side, go up and do a loop, and then come back and hit it on the other side. Those guys were all over it, so kudos for that. Very well, you got no problem with passing. Everything's wide enough. This is a great run course too. I sound like a fanboy for Chattanooga, but there's a reason that Ironman did 4 races in this city in a year. It's really great. So yeah.
Yeah, lots of scenery. 3 different kinds of terrain. You have asphalt, concrete, and then the wooden bridges. So that's really nice to break it up. Lots of support. They never ran out of ice or anything. So even though it was hot, they had fully stocked with everything you could need.
Yeah, volunteers were great. They were not handing out stuff.
They were not.
It was on the table. So similar COVID protocol. But I wonder if they'll stay that way, because that actually kind of seems a little more efficient. So that was fine with me. But yeah, plenty of ice, which was nice.
All right, so Megan, you got a banana rating on this?
6.5.
6.5. All right.
Okay.
Any reason for a half banana loss?
I just feel like it's not perfect. I don't know what I would change. But
Hey, you got to leave room for improvement. Fair enough. I'm with you. I'm taking a half a banana for the hills. And that's just because I'm from Florida. So yeah, it's 6.5. This is a great course. This is one of my favorites.
I gotta give it a 7. I mean, there's nothing I'd change about the run. I mean, there's nothing I'd change.
Yeah.
There's plenty of shade, plenty of different terrain changes. If there's nothing I'd change, it's gotta have 7.
Fair enough. All right. So overall in this race, you give it what?
I'd give it 6.5. I mean, you got to take off a little bit for the kind of the swim issues, I suppose, and the road issues. But it's a highly recommended race. It's I don't know. There were 2,500 people in it. They didn't announce how many first timers there were. I wonder if this is a big first time race or not.
A lot of the people that I met were first timers. So. Okay. Obviously,
we don't have a number on that, but it's a good first time course if you want to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do a race and you're not a particularly good open water swimmer, this is the one. Mm-hmm. This is a good one.
So, Megan, you got an overall rating for this course?
6.5. I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I'd give it a 7. I can't. There's some really minor issues, and I really want to give it a 7. But yeah, we'll take off a little deductions here and there. But the city is fantastic. This is a great family-friendly destination. Tons to do, lots of support. The volunteers were all super friendly. No issues with parking, no issues with getting anything anywhere. Plenty of hotels. Fantastic. Do this race. Put this on your bucket list. It's a lot of fun. You guys have done the full here. I have done the run leg of the full.
Did a relay.
I can speak to the run course is no joke on the full. So I don't know that this would be my full destination if I was only going to ever do one. But other than that, it's a great city. I highly recommend this place.
So the medal and the hat. So you got a hat like what Sam's wearing. This was at the finish. You got a T-shirt, which is this, and then you got the medal. And one thing that I noticed on the medal, so good for them. It's a standard medal. It's what you'd expect from Ironman, but it says a 1.4 mile swim. Standard 70.3 is a 1.2 mile swim. They've actually got the 1.4 on there, so good for them. 1.4 mile swim, 56 mile bike. 13.1 run. So that was nice. I appreciated that. It gives you a little bit extra credit for whatever you.
So I did a 70.5.
What we've decided there's nothing that other than what we've talked about. Anything else that you would change on the race?
No. Yeah. So what do we? Your top 3 issues. I'll let you start with Megan. What's your number 3 issue that you would fix with the race?
Number 3 issue is widening the bike mats.
Okay, all right.
And adding another.
Maybe another bike mat. Yeah, that seems like a very doable problem solve. All right, so you got number 2?
I mean, I'm gonna take I'm sure you're talking about the swim start. I'll take that away from you. That's pretty discouraging to know that you're in line yet your time has already started. I mean, this isn't really a PR course, and so maybe that's not going to matter to very many people. But that's pretty frustrating to be sitting there knowing that time's counting against you and you're still in line.
Fair enough. That was going to be my number 2.
Yes.
Number 1 is definitely the bike course, tying back into the railroad, getting the roads fixed. I'd love to see that happen. That would just make this, the perfect race.
Ironman, those train tracks were the number 1 and number 3 problems with the bike. That's something that should be fixed.
So yeah, Ironman could fix number 3. Ironman could fix number 2. It will be up to the city of Chattanooga to get number 1. But certainly, just some road patches would really help start that process. So, thank you very much. We got anything else?
We got to do the number of the likes. Those were the dislikes.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to close out without the best part. So, what was your favorite part of this race?
My favorite part is just the run course in general. I think it's a really good and really interesting run course, even though it's a double loop course, which most are. You don't get bored doing it a second time.
So, what about you? Did you have anything? What was your favorite?
So I got to tell a story, but this was my favorite thing in the race. Well, first of all, my absolute favorite thing was our accommodations and the fact that we got into the race. Thank you, Jack. Jack and Olive, we appreciate it. They first of all, Jack got us into the race because it was deferrals only.
Yeah.
And so we got into the race. So thank you. He gave us a place to stay, and they cooked us the pre-race dinner. None of that stuff is stuff that y'all can take advantage of. So this is
very exclusive. Hotel.
Yeah.
It's got a strong Yelp review. So yeah, if you can figure out how to get in, but I don't know what their rate is per night. I didn't ask.
So that was probably the biggest thing. But since we're trying to come up with stuff that you can do, this is my story. I'm on the bike course. When I did Ironman Florida, so the full Ironman Florida back in November, I'm in the elevator and I'm talking to a guy. We're going down the elevator and asking him how his race was, and he said it was a tough race. He had a flat tire. Nobody came and helped him for an hour and a half or 2 hours. He ended up using somebody else's cell phone. His wife came and picked him up. He didn't finish the race. And that's, I mean, he was just so dejected because he didn't finish the race. So we're riding along, and I see somebody out there, and she's walking along the side of the road with a wheel in her hand, and I'm like, you okay? I mean, I didn't know if she had wrecked or what was going on, and she was like, I'm out of CO2. I mean, I got CO2 on my bike. So I pulled over, I fished out my flat kit. She had already, this was her second flat of the day, so she had already used her flat kit for the first one, and I gave her my stuff. And I'm going to tell you that you think that you're going to lose time doing that, and I did not lose any time. I had a smile on my face for the next 10 miles that I was able to help out somebody, and hopefully I didn't catch your number. But if you're out there, a lady with a flat tire on the side of the road and give you your stuff, let me know how you did. And I did not lose any time at all because I was able to, feel good about doing that and helping somebody out. So if you have the opportunity to help somebody out on the race course, absolutely help them out. It's not going to cost you any time. It'll just build goodwill with everybody. And shoot, it might be me that's out there that I've already given my CO2 to somebody else, and I got a flat tire and I need it. So do that if you have the opportunity.
Right. So he had caught up to me on the bike course. I have my own story. So all of a sudden he disappears, and I think I'm the man. Obviously, I've just destroyed his will to live. I just lose him. He's gone. And it took 10 minutes later to catch us back up with me. And so, yes, he did not lose any time. That was something very special. Certainly my number one is the bike course. I really, really love this, and that's from the guy who doesn't like hills. So it's great. Please do this race. You got anything else?
I think I'm good. It was a good race. Finished strong. Wasn't a PR for us, but we finished. We got to finish together, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Across the finish line together. Then got to watch Megan finish after that. But you got any other stories or anything you want to say?
Oh man. Please, I will say the bike. I'm not in the front. I'm in the back of the pack. So I'm going to have a good time because I'm not going to win.
He does not stop talking. I finished the bike with him, and then we did the entire run together. That guy does not stop talking. So if there's a guy that's chatty Cathy out here, it's Sam.
I'm going to have a good time, and we're going to talk. Somebody's going to talk. I'm going to be next to you, and somebody's going to be talking. It can be me. It can be you. I don't particularly care. But yeah, so apparently on the bike course, everybody's friendly, everybody's having a good time. By the time we get to the run, their suffering has started, and they are in the pain cave. So if you're looking for a friendly run, not so much. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Had a good time. Ju, anything? So next time we have a guest host, we're going to bring a cattle prod. We'll just get them to say some words, maybe ouch, I don't know. But thanks guys so much for listening, and look forward to our next race review, which will be from foreign country. So stay tuned.
First time we've been to Austria, and we'll get to do a race there next weekend. So stay tuned.